The drama surrounding this new Indiana Fever squad didn't explode with a headline or a blockbuster announcement. It crept in quietly, building through grainy practice clips, sideline reactions, and the unmistakable shift in energy that only shows up when something real is taking shape behind the scenes. At first glance, it was just training camp footage, players running drills, coaches calling out rotations, the usual early season rhythm. But the deeper you looked, the harder it became to ignore what was unfolding. This didn't look like the same team that struggled through 2025. This looked like something sharper, faster, and far more dangerous. There was a different pace to everything. The ball wasn't sticking, it was flying, whipping across the court in ways that felt almost too quick to process. No-look passes that didn't just connect, but arrived perfectly in rhythm. Shots from well beyond the arc that didn't feel like risks anymore, but routine. And underneath all of it, a level of chemistry that teams usually spend months trying to build. Indiana seemed to have found it in days. But none of that mattered if the biggest question hanging over the team remained unanswered. After 8 months away from competitive play, all eyes were on Caitlin Clark, not just whether she was healthy, but whether she was still her. Because history has shown that players can come back physically ready, yet still lose that intangible edge, the instinct, the timing, the feel for the game that separates great players from unstoppable ones. And for Clark, that feel is everything. What made this moment different is that she didn't wait for training camp to prove anything. Months earlier, on an international stage, she had already answered those doubts, facing defenses designed specifically to slow her down. She didn't ease her way back into form. She dominated. The rhythm was there, the confidence was there, and most importantly, that split-second decision-making ability, the one that turns chaos into opportunity, never left. Now, in camp, it's even more obvious. There's no hesitation in her movements, no second-guessing in her reads. The passes are just as daring, just as precise. And the shooting, if anything, it looks even more effortless. Pull-ups, contested looks, deep-range attempts, it's all falling with a kind of calm inevitability, the kind that forces defenders to rethink everything before the season even begins. But this transformation isn't just about one player returning to form. It's about what's forming around her. Because, for the first time, Indiana doesn't just have talent. It has structure, it has balance, and most importantly, it has commitment from the players who define its identity. Kelsey Mitchell's decision to stay might be the clearest signal of that shift. Coming off one of the best seasons of her career, with every reason to explore her options, she chose to remain, not because she had to, but because she believed in what was being built. That choice says more than any stat line ever could. It speaks to a locker room that feels connected, to a system that players trust, and to a partnership on the court that elevates everyone involved. Because when Mitchell and Clark share the floor, it's not just two scorers operating independently. It's a constant pressure on defenses from every angle. One stretches the floor beyond its limits, the other attacks it head-on, and when both are clicking, there's no easy answer for stopping either of them. That synergy isn't theoretical anymore. It's visible in every possession. Then there's Aaliyah Boston, anchoring everything from the inside. Her presence doesn't always show up in highlight reels, but it shows up where it matters most: control, stability, and consistency. She's the reason the system works. The reason risks can be taken on the perimeter. The reason the team doesn't collapse when games slow down and become physical. And with the franchise fully committing to her long-term, it's clear they see her not just as a piece, but as a foundation. What makes this version of Indiana even more intriguing is what's been added around that core. Players who don't just fill gaps, but change the way the team functions. Monique Billings brings efficiency and movement, turning quick decisions into easy points. Meisha Hines-Allen brings physicality, the kind that shifts the tone of an entire game. These aren't just role players, they're solutions to problems that held Indiana back when it mattered most. Because last season exposed something important. Talent alone wasn't enough. When the games got tougher, when the matchups became more physical, Indiana didn't always have the edge. That's what this offseason was about, not just getting better, but getting tougher, building a roster that can absorb pressure instead of breaking under it. Even the younger additions reflect that mindset. Defensive intensity, discipline, versatility traits that don't always grab attention immediately, but become invaluable over time. And already, those pieces are fitting in faster than expected. There's no visible disconnect, no awkward adjustment period, just a team that seems to understand what it wants to be. And that identity starts with defense. It's not being treated as a long-term goal or a gradual improvement. It's the standard. From the first day of camp, the expectation has been clear. Communication, effort, accountability, every possession matters. Because the difference between a good team and a championship contender often comes down to what happens when the offense isn't flowing. What ties all of this together is pace. When Indiana speeds the game up, everything changes. The court opens. Defenses scramble. And that's where Clark is at her most dangerous, not in set plays or controlled situations, but in moments where instinct takes over, where decisions happen before defenses can react. And now, with the right pieces around her, those moments are turning into consistent advantages. That's what made the early footage so striking. It didn't look like a team experimenting. It looked like a team executing, like something that had already been tested and refined, even though the season hasn't started yet. And that's why people around the league are starting to pay attention, not because of hype, but because of what they're actually seeing. Still, questions remain. Because potential doesn't guarantee anything. Chemistry in practice doesn't always translate under pressure. And a balanced roster still has to prove itself over a full season. Can they maintain this level? Can the new pieces fully integrate when the stakes are higher? Can they handle the physical toll that comes with a deep playoff run? Those are the questions that will define this team, not the highlights, not the early impressions, but how they respond when everything is on the line. What makes this moment different is that Indiana isn't shying away from those expectations. They're embracing them. There's a belief inside that locker room that this isn't just a competitive team, it's a team built to win it all. And for the first time in a long time, that belief doesn't feel exaggerated. It feels possible. So now it shifts to you. What do you think was the most important move Indiana made this offseason? Is it the return of key players, the new additions, or simply the evolution of Caitlin Clark into something even more dangerous? And more importantly, do you believe this team is truly ready to make a championship run? Drop your thoughts below. Because this season is shaping up to be something special. And if you want to stay ahead of every development, every breakout moment, and every shift in the story as it unfolds, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next.